And I got my dude here, Pete Olander. Is
What's
that
up?
right? Am I
Pete
reading that?
Olander.
Okay, yes. I had the pleasure of hanging out with you for the first time at the Emerald Cup, and that wasn't my first Emerald Cup. Was it your first Emerald Cup?
It was my first Emerald Cup. So first time in Oakland. I know they just moved there from Santa Rosa, but first Emerald Cup. So I really had no expectations going into it.
Hey, nothing like that in Chicago happened, so can't really complain, right?
Yes, nothing like that happens anywhere, especially
Yet.
because the Emerald Cup has been going for 20 years. So nothing like that in Chicago.
Yeah, I know it's funny when people bring it up, like, especially because they've been going for so long and they like stumble and think, I'm like, yeah, 20 years exactly. It's like their 20th mark. Big ups to them. I mean, they brought everybody together from all over the place. Even some people internationally flew in, and that's always the exciting part about Emerald Cup is we get to be in one spot. I think the different part was um this year they did both, so you had like an experience of harvest ball where you got the marketplace and you got to hang out and smoke, but then you also got the award show all in one weekend, and usually they have those kind of separated by a couple months. So I think that may have been a little bit different for people, but all good times, high vibes, high terps. um I personally enjoyed having coffee and a moment to actually chill and sesh with you. A few of us went to the Dunks Coffee like breakfast thing right before the award show, and it's not that whole weekend was a little different for me because usually I go just as a judge. This year I went as a judge, as a moderator, and part of the team, helping everybody kind of get settled in with credentials, and so a little crazy. So I'm glad I got a little bit more than a high buy because that's kind of what happened throughout the whole weekend with a lot of people. So if I ran into you guys, it was like giving you like quick second of attention, but I was glad I got to hug you guys and move on. So the ones I got to sesh with, super grateful for that, especially since we don't see each other too often. Anybody special that you ran into that either was in your vicinity or maybe someone that you've talked to online that you haven't gotten a chance to do like in person conversations with?
Uh,
Which was the best part?
yeah, I did. Well, aside from you, and by the way, the panel discussion you led on the just the influencer marketing, you crushed it. So I thought the
You.
panels is what I really enjoyed, seeing because there was a lot of really good people who knew what they were talking about. So that was phenomenal. I did have a chance to catch up with, I think your good friend Elliot from Catalyst. I had a chance to catch up with some of our co-packers we work with, but it
Mhm.
was a diverse crowd for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, that's for sure. You see people from all ends of the spectrum as far as what they're doing in the space, from cultivators to farmers to people in compliance, content creators. It's such a good time. I look forward to it every year. It's like a second Christmas for me for the most part. And then they become like your family, especially the judges that are returning year after year after year. So again, it's something that I think people look forward to and I hope will continue. But let's dive into what Pete is doing in this space. I've had the pleasure to kind of know a little bit about your background. I think for me, I love that you come with a little bit of fitness background, specifically nutrition. My guilty pleasure are pre-workouts. I know people are like, you gotta be more organic. And I'm like, I know, but let me just have my pre-workout because that's the type of person I am. And flavors are a big deal for me. And then now that I'm getting into more of the cannabis industry and going to social events and conferences and big trade shows, the beverages for cannabis has now been my new kind of like jam. And so I'm interested to find out a little bit about what you're doing with Happie. So let's start with a little bit of your personal background, how you got into cannabis and kind of how you kind of pivoted into the beverage side, whether that was nutrition that led you to the cannabis beverage or, supplements, I think is what you may have background in.
Yeah, yeah. So I've always been, very interested in health and fitness and nutrition. And kind of what led me into cannabis is I was working with a nutritional supplement company, helping formulate products. And at that point in time, we were looking at greens products and, just everything with high anti-inflammatory antioxidants, real fruits and fibers and stuff like that. And this was back in 2014 and 15. And I just started, CBD kept popping up as an anti-inflammatory. So I started to play with that, put it into some products I was using, and I noticed like a huge benefit immediately just in like post workout recovery, right? So I would have it in my post drink, and it just helped me just heal better. My muscles felt better, my joints felt better. So I was onto it, and I really enjoyed it. So I just continued working with that, and we were working on a ready to drink beverage, an energy drink. So, like your pre-workout drinks, we were working on those, developing those, and I had this idea. I was like, why don't we do the drink on the other side, the come back down? So I created Happie, and we did it just as a CBD version initially, and that was in 2018. So we rolled that out, and CBD, it's just, it was still back in 2018, it was a gray area. I mean, I think even more than THC is today, right? So people were a little scared of it. You couldn't market it. It's, as you know, influencer marketing, they ban you on some sites if you mention cannabis at all. So it wasn't the easiest to do. So what we decided to do as a company is move to California, and if we were going to be in it, we were going to be in it. So we started a flower line. So we have flower up and down the state of California. And now with the hemp laws coming, the way they are with the Farm Bill, we have an opportunity for the hemp-derived THC, the Delta 9. So because of the Farm Bill, we can compliantly and, legally sell it anywhere in the country. And it's just because it's a lower dose, it's a 5 milligram CBD, 5 milligram THC. So it's kind of that perfect balance. It gives people a feel. It's about the feeling of a beer, but people, when they in social settings, they like to carry something, they like to hold something. And it's a good way to do it, I think.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of having the VP on from Liquid Death on I think he was my number 4 episode. And he talks about that. It's the sober vibe, and something about having something like, a 40, a can, was giving, I think, some of his artists that were, I can't remember who they were. I think it was somebody from Metallica who was going sober, and obviously drinking water bottle is not as cool as carrying a fucking can on stage. And so he talks about, so I love that you're approaching it that way. And I think, to go back on something that you've said initially as to why you went this route with CBD drinks was the anti-inflammatory and trying to help that. That is like one of the biggest chronic diseases. I don't even know if you consider chronic disease, but a disease, a battle, a challenge that most people are fighting in today's world, all over no matter how old they are. And I know it has a lot to do with our diet and our nutrition, obviously. So I'm glad you're focusing on something that may be a little bit more just like a social fun thing, because a lot of women have a lot of inflammation that they deal with, whether it's hormonal, led by hormonal diseases or by their diet. And so I think a lot of people are starting to go the healthy route, whether it's nutrition, getting rid of drinking alcohol, not going to use opioids. I don't know if you do data, but are you seeing kind of a positive, um, you know, I guess feedback from that end of things as well? Like, I don't know if you guys as Happy are looking at it
Definitely.
as like, the health side of it, because I know THCV, we've talked about that before. Me personally, I initially started with my cousin who's an RN, doesn't smoke, but found that CBD was something that she was leaning on, and she like really went deep on the obesity things, or how obesity was being driven, and how cannabinoids, certain cannabinoids, can actually help with that. And so for her, being somebody that's not into THC, she was fascinated with THCV for that reason. And so with your background in nutrition, I imagine you and your partners are definitely watching this
A
data
hundred
type of
percent. I mean, the plant is just getting understood as far as what it can do. And actually, the NFL co-sponsored a study that they just released with a couple universities in Canada, showing the benefits of it and how it's going to become more socially acceptable in athletes in sports, because it combats opioids, which really, if you want to talk about inflammation and disease, inflammation, you can't really pinpoint it, but what we can
Right.
pinpoint is it's the precursor to a lot of the diseases. Your body's trying to fight it. And that, when you get out of balance, something's got to break. So that's what inflammation, I think, is always a starting point. And, giving people a fun way to do it. I mean, our slogans feel good about feeling good, like have a good drink, feel good with it. And, it's good for you. So,
Yeah, you don't wanna have a drink and feel like shit, like alcohol.
yeah, especially when
Especially
you
the
have
older you
kids.
get. Exactly. Are you a parent?
Yeah, I got 2 kids. I got a
Okay.
freshman in high school, so he's
Oh,
football. Yeah,
nice.
he's middle linebacker, but it's his
Oh,
first year
shit.
playing. He's a freshman,
How
and then I got
exciting.
my little guy who's in 4th grade.
Oh, 2 boys. Look at you. All right,
Yeah,
well, they're gonna take over, so make sure you get your shit right now so you leave them something right. That's
I'm
the whole
trying.
point, right, of being parents. Like, we gotta build the generational wealth and make sure they're not spoiled brats, but still have something built. The whole thing for me is I don't want them to have to work for anybody, and that's not necessarily the way I grew up, so kind of breaking the chains there. Do you talk to them about cannabis and what you do openly? I mean, your
I
son's a
do.
freshman, so it's probably hard to hide it from him.
Yeah, and at some point, you gotta normalize it, because I would rather talk to my kids about, hey, here's an alternative to alcohol, because, unfortunately, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who've watched some people just go down a bad way with alcohol. And,
Yep.
with anything, when you have too much of anything, it's not good for you. So I feel the same way about cannabis, but it's an option. And I think if you can figure out a way to manage it, I think it's a great option for people, because I mean, I'm a consumer and I rarely drink alcohol, and I feel great. And I think, but I manage it very well, because I want to look at the protocols of, like, hey, how do I do it before a workout? Do I do it after a workout? I mean, there's a lot of interesting studies coming out with, like you said, THCV. It's a
Mhm.
appetite suppressant. It gives you energy. It's a little energy boost. So, I mean, I think that could be on the precipice of, getting it into some pre-workouts or some drinks, because there are studies going on behind that now that the FDA is loosening the reins of, all right, you can now do some of these studies. It's not illegal. And the stuff they're
Mhm.
finding out is proving those anecdotal stories correct. It's cool.
Yeah, plus when they're doing their own research, from what I'm hearing, it was, I think it was on Huberman's podcast. He had a Canadian, I think he was Canadian scientist that only studied the cannabinoids of the plant. So he can only talk on certain things about the plant as far as political side, but as far as the science part of it, he broke it down in a way I've never heard. But he also tells people that, or shares that he knows that the FDA, or yeah, I think the feds, basically they grow their own weed and that's what they test it on. And so they're not even getting like the
The good stuff.
maximum yeah, the expressed weed. One, that, or the weed that's out on the streets now that are 26% THC, they're still testing weed that are like 7 to 10, he said maybe 12%. I had no idea. Totally makes sense that they're growing their own things and then testing it on and then telling everybody what exactly to feel and go by. So there's still so much education that needs to be done, and I think it's going to come from our own actual community. I had Dr. Riley on here. Shout out to Riley. She's a biochemist, and she talks about, the research that was done years ago were basically done by either somebody that was trying to push a particular agenda or somebody that's never actually consumed cannabis. And so it was very biased. And so she wants to see, and she's conducting a lot more research from our end, from our community, to give a little bit more of a solid, look at how things affect people, because effect is going to be different, I think, when we're actually talking about the cannabinoids, nutrition. Not everybody's going to respond the same. Everybody's microbiome is different. We metabolite things differently. But thank you for sharing that. I think it's important, the work that you're doing, because I think the wellness side of things are really starting to open up. As you mentioned, the sport leagues are really starting to look at this as an alternative medicine for their athletes. I think they're probably seeing a better response as far as how they're able to train and perform. For me personally, when I competed in bodybuilding, I personally used it for my pre and for my post. I know you said you're looking at it for more of a post. Do you think it's possible to make it a pre-workout? Like, is it, I mean, you could use THCV. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with L-carnitine.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely think you could make a pre-workout for it. I mean, if you just look at the straight flower, if you will, there's people talk
Okay.
about sativas and indicas, and there's another component to it too besides just the cannabinoids. It's the terpenes. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think of THC, that's like the horsepower that gets you going, but the terpenes are the steering wheel of how you're going to get there. So I think once you understand how to protocol or your proper dosage or what you need for your body, because body weight comes into effect. What you ate or just your genetic makeup, you're going to have to play with
Yeah.
it, which can be
Body
fun if
fat.
you do it the right way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, they talk about that even like for edibles, like making sure that you have something that's fatty so that it can actually hit a certain way, because obviously that's what THC binds to. And then what that turns into THC 11, I believe, which is 10 times more powerful than THC, which is why edibles hit different. Which, it's funny. If you're not in the industry, you're not going to know that shit. And that's why I harp on having open conversations, light conversations for the kind of curious to absorb. But yeah, talking about terpenes, it's like putting shitty gas in your tank when the terpenes aren't expressed right. But I totally believe it. That's one thing that I did like at the Emerald Cup. I don't know if you got a chance to stop by the SC Labs booth, but they had
yeah,
like these terpene cards. I was like, oh, swoop, those are so good to have. Me smoking for since I was 16, I'll be 40 next year. I've never dived into terps like that. So I think we're barely at the top of things when it comes to education. Obviously, the scientists and the people who are maybe cultivating genetic breeders would be more aware of the terps. But you're right. I think there's certain terps that I find in certain strains that I find extremely impactful or effective when I'm doing workouts. Because now that I'm older, I'm a little bit more, I should say, properly dosing, which I think we'll dive into, but not just getting slammed and then just going to the gym, but kind of being aware of what it's making me feel like, opening up, just really enjoying the flower and having a respect for whoever cultivated it, smelling it, assessing it from in and out. And then when I hit the gym, I am noticing a different feel, whether I will say a lot of sun grown cannabis makes me feel amazing. It's like I had like an extra boost of pre-workout when I take it. So I will say that all day, that I think when we do have sun grown products and even living soil to me also makes a difference in how the flower is expressed. And as far as the terps for me, how they affect me, I could always tell the difference. So, to that point, let's talk about how you guys create your actual formula with Happie. Are you guys indoor, outdoor? Tell me a little bit about kind of how that's created.
yeah. So we have a farm actually in Sonoma County. So we are living soil farmers. It's we grow right in the middle of a vineyard, so completely organic. Use our own teas. I look at this plant and any derivative of it as like I'm not going to give somebody something that I wouldn't take personally. So I'm very conscious of what we're growing and our growing practices, our curing practices. And I want it to, it's got to smell good. It's got to taste good. It's got to have the feel. So
Yeah.
I think that's what our customers need. And that's what they want. That's why they're coming to us.
Well, yeah, no, I think you hit it on point. I'm definitely one to advocate for things that I use personally in my lifestyle. I think it markets better for the whatever brand you have if it fits and it's part of your day to day. It's so much easier to understand and at least deliver what you're trying your message to be in your audience. So I love that. Living soil. Are you guys like in the heart of other farms? Because Santa Rosa, you guys, I mean, it's pretty popping up there as far as farms. Any neighborhood farms that you want to
Oh yeah,
mention?
there's lots of farms. The group who actually introduced me to living soil really gave me an educational whole bit on it is Moon Valley. So those guys out of Moon Valley are incredible growers, and their facility is unbelievable. So, but I mean,
Shout out to me.
living soil's the real like that's really how you're supposed to do it, where you're making your own teas and fermenting your own, fruit to make your fertilizers. And you're right, because just like the human body, the soil, that's kind of like the plant's microbiome. Like, so if it's done right and sustainable, the cannabis gets better every time, and it takes you on this, it's a smooth ride instead of just I'm going straight to outer space.
The raciness, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. That's something that I'm noticing and talking to another doctor that is, he actually invented Phytophec, so a lot of the terpene cards that we're seeing now and all of the science behind that. He talks about, like, he calls it the bunk weed when it gives you that high, like, super high THC ratio, and you're getting that panic attack almost, where the younger generation kind of thinks it's like, "Oh, man, that was amazing. I got so lit." And I think the older generation is like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, that gave me a minor, like, panic attack, and he didn't, he kinda broke it down into a lot of people just going out of their minds with just trying to make the highest THC out there, and that's not even needed anymore. Like, there is really, really good high quality CBD, which is crazy to hear, that equally gives you the same amount of high, but in, like, a very cool, mellow way, and it doesn't have that roller coaster vibe. So I'm, taking a step back, because for me to say, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna smoke some hemp," I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but now I'm seeing it in a different light. So, talk to me about how you guys play with your ratios. Talk to me how you guys make that.
That's the beauty of it. It's the same plant. It's the same plant, because what we're doing is the cannabis sativa, and the hemp plant are the same. They both create the same compounds. So, because if you look at it, like, think about it like pharmaceutical, right? THC is a compound, CBD is a compound, because you can isolate it down to that exactly what you want. The only difference between the two varieties of plants, like a white rose and a red rose, is okay, this has more THC in it, and that's why it's, regulated, and this has more CBD in it, but it still has everything in there. It's a whole plant. It's like Rick Simpson oil.
So you're
It's just
just
different
growing
ratios.
different strains that push out certain.
Yeah, you can grow out different strains, but see, so in the regulated market, right, people are growing more for high THC content.
Yeah,
And for it to be legal in the farm bill, it can only have a percentage of THC per dry weight, but
3,
it's still
right?
THC. Yeah,
Yeah.
point 0.3
Yeah,
per dry weight. Yeah,
right.
point 0.3, so per dry weight. So, but
It's still THC, and it's still the same
it's
plant.
still THC, and there's still those other cannabinoids in it, and if you do it right, there's those other terpenes in it. And I think just like what you had said about, "Hey, I'll smoke hemp," or "CBD gives me a feeling," I
Yeah,
think there's just been that misconception of, "Oh, if you want that feeling, you have to get the highest THC content." Well, what we're
right.
realizing and studying is it's the experience, right? So, the way it smells, the way it smokes, the way it tastes, like that all adds into the feeling of what you're looking for anyway, right? So I would rather have, personally, what living soil. It doesn't typically have the highest THC content, but it has the highest terpene content, and that, like kind of like we alluded to, that smooths it out for you. And I think people want to have an enjoyable time when they're doing whatever they're doing, or at least feel like they're still in control and just feel good about it. And I think
I
that's what
feel
it
like
does.
it's cleaner too, like, as far as the smoke, it just seems so much smoother. There's less of a chance for living soil brands to come out with, "Damn, that shit was hot," or "That shit was, like, harsh," because on the intake, the burn of the throat, it could be fire on the outside, look pretty, smell dank, sticky and everything. Then you smoke it and it gives you that, like, like acidy, singy burn, then I'm like, okay, so the flesh either was rushed or there was just a lot in there that it's just stuck in there. And that's one thing I don't see from living soil. And I know that because I grow in soil. So even though I had my own homegrown tents, I've always done soil versus everybody around me usually did rock wool. So that's where I felt like my cannabis was like way cleaner and I had less of trouble fleshing shit out at the end. So
Have you
I
ever tried
personally
hydro?
um no, not me personally. I've worked in a grow op that did hydro, but I like the idea. I think I tried playing with my auto. So I may do it again. I was blessed to hang out with a breeder this past weekend, and he just was like, "Hold on, I have something for you." And he gifted me like, I don't know, 100 seeds that are OG from like land raised Colombia. He gave me some from Congo. I don't know. I'm gonna get excited. I'm like, okay, maybe I should buy some land soon. But no, I'm gonna bust out my tents. I've grown before in 30 by 30 and a 10 by 10 tent. So I've had a mother room and flower room and a clone room. I used to do workshops where I used to teach women how to actually grow and train and do clones. I haven't done that in a long time, but I may do that again. It's always fun. I love being in grows and growing. How
It takes a
often do
lot of
you
work.
yeah, have you grown yourself? It's funny, a lot of people
I'm
haven't.
terrible.
Most guys
I
are.
can't do it.
Then
But
you have to
I
have respect
appreciate
for
when
your
someone
guy.
could do it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely a craft that I think people, either love to do because it's very tedious and especially if you're producing more than one genetic or one breed and you guys are doing all types of different things. Because I could see I've been to a grow where they're just like room after room where it's just like all one strain and I just find that interesting. But hey, I think a lot of that comes with white labeling. Is that something you guys do as well, or are you guys just producing the drinks and the flour?
We do some white labeling for some people down in San Diego, um, but it's becoming less and less because we're finding we have our own brand and people are buying our flour, people like it, so I'd rather get it out. But
You had one flower batch that I was like, okay, this is pretty dang. I can't remember what it was. It was a while back, and I smoked it all, obviously, guys. So I don't have it here to show you. But yeah, okay. So you have loose flower, living soil out of Santa Rosa, and you also have beverages, or are the beverages not out yet?
no, the beverages are out, so we actually www.livehappy.com, so we can ship them anywhere in the country. um, and we're looking at some retailers in California at the moment, so I can be sure to post that news.
Yep, we'll make sure we share with you guys. And everything about P and Happy will be in our description, obviously. However, let's see, what else was I going to ask you? I did have a question. Oh, the being that you're in different states, are you seeing one or the other be more receptive to the drinks, or one retail that's like, wow, this one's really blowing over there?
Well, if I the markets that we're going into and looking at, there's two really hot markets in the country right now. One is in Texas. It's just a big market, and they consume a lot. It's actually going into total wine and liquor, so it's going into some big locations. And then Minnesota is actually a really big market for it too.
I said it's because of Joe Rogan. I'm just kidding. In Texas.
Hey,
Have you
it's
seen his
fine.
stand up?
Whatever it
Great.
takes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love Joe Rogan. Um, Texas, yeah, you know what? I've got a colleague out there, and she's always showing different kind of drinks. And do you guys see yourself? I don't even know if it's already in there, but Bevmo. I don't drink anymore. It's been over a year of alcohol, so Bevmo used to be my jam. But are you? I mean, I swear I would see maybe some drinks in there. Are you guys possibly going to be in somewhere like that, or maybe bigger?
Yeah, we're working on a couple. So I don't like to talk too much until things are done, but no,
Please
we're
don't.
expecting big things. We've got great reviews. People like us. So, and the thing is,
Yep.
we've been on the market. We were actually sold on Amazon. as CBD for a while before we weren't. And that's kind of how we tested the flavors and made sure that it had an effect and people liked us. So it was just kind of that, all right, now we can do it ourselves.
Sweet. Yeah, flavors are big. Like I think I mentioned earlier, pre-workouts, whether that's in a shot form, a syrup form, a powder form. I'm your tester. I love all those, but the flavors, my gosh, if you can nail the flavor, I've become like completely obsessed with them. What are the flavors that you guys are pushing right now on the drinks?
So we have our groovy grapefruit, which is the OG, the original one that we designed. We have Sublime, which is lime, Grateful Grape, which is a nice grape pop, and we are releasing the Cheery Cherry. So grape, cherry, lime, and grapefruit.
Nice. I love them. The grape one, actually, no, I switched my grape. The grapefruit is my number one. Then I'll go into your grape, and then my husband likes the Sublime. Like, it tastes like squirt. I'm like, "Perfect. Those are yours. These are mine. Don't creep into mine." But yeah, no, we loved them. We, went to a couple beach trips, and they were perfect for that. And to somebody, like, may say, "Oh, 5 milligrams doesn't hit." Hey, it hit for me. I thought it was something that kept me cool and collected for 4 hours. Didn't feel like I needed to go take a puff. Definitely was a very cool, smooth ride, even for my husband. And so, I'm excited to see you guys everywhere. I can see, the drinks are on the rise for me personally, as far as watching the market. You being actually producing drinks, are you seeing like a huge jump? I feel like this year has really jumped for drinks.
Oh yeah, it's outpacing. It's the fastest growing alternative beverage segment in the market right now. So alcohol sales are going down, microbrew sales are going down, and hemp beverages are blowing up. So we're excited to be where we were. I mean, it's taken a long time. Obviously, we've had to wait out laws, but everyone, it's the cannabis industry. Everybody in this industry has had to wait and wait and wait. So I think the time hopefully is finally coming, and we're starting to see momentum. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Tell me a little bit about events. I know our industry just got over the Emerald Cup. Now things are going to start picking up for the bigger conferences. Holif Flowers, is that going to be on the books for you guys?
It sure is. We'll be in the main hall, so we'll be there in a couple weeks. So if anybody's swinging through, we'd love to tell you a little bit more and meet you.
Holy smacks. So it's going to be because Hollow Flowers is 20th, I want to say, right? 20th through the 22nd.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
guess you'll be off
back
the
to
chat.
back.
So yeah, are you fully activated or are you guys just like in a booth, like a table booth? Because I know they have the
No,
marketplace
we're
and then
fully
the
activated.
lounges. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. And are they going to be able to have samples or what are you guys doing there? Are they selling at Hollow Flowers this year?
Yeah,
I
they
heard like a
are. So you'll be able to
juice
buy Happy
spell.
Flower.
Oh, is it gonna be cashless to where it has to be through an app? Because I know that happened in the Ventura one. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. But
We'll
if you
get
stop by
this.
our booth, we'll have drinks to hand out.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, so we'll make sure we stop by the Happy booth, everybody watching. That's gonna be September 20th. And then you said Denver. How about MJ BizCon? I think that's December?
I think it is. Yeah, we're in planning right now, but I wouldn't doubt, we'll be there.
Yeah, you probably, as the founder of Happy, probably roaming. It'd be smart. I always tell people that's the one that you don't want to miss. It is like 5 days of nonstop networking, whether it's like pre-parties, after parties, brunches, lunches. But it's so worth it. And hopefully, the MJs are always fun. I think people are going to that. Cool. Well, it looks like you guys got the end of the year pretty much planned out. Anything else exciting for you guys? Will you guys be attending any of the fitness expos? Have you guys thought about that? You should.
I, I
I know
want to
I've
think
been
more
thinking
about it. I
about
mean,
it.
the way you presented that, I'm like, but
You
that
should.
I think it's a good fit. I mean, NFL's
Absolutely.
approving it, NBA has approved it, the NHL has approved it. it's coming.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, bodybuilders are all about it. I mean, totally all about it. Everybody remembers Arnold's movie. That's his celebration choice, and a brownie, of course. But no, I think that's where I see beverages going overall, even pre-rolls, because you can play with pre-rolls in such a light way. So I'm excited to see some of the brands in the cannabis space kind of tap into the mainstream events that are at least around the sports, because obviously with my background in fitness, it excites me to see them start talking about their relationship with cannabis freely and not feel like, oh shit, I'm gonna get kicked off the fucking team, or the league's gonna find out. So, well, one step at a time. It's conversations like this, people like you who have a love for the plant. And from what I saw this weekend, it seems like you've been smoking for quite some time. When did you start smoking? Or I should
Ooh,
say double dabbing in
probably
cannabis.
2018. I didn't start till like my mid 30s.
Oh, wow, look
I
at you,
just,
you're
I
so
mean, really, I
responsible.
got into it through, the edibles and nutrition. And then it's
Mm,
a different absorption, right? So, like you're talking about, like edibles hit different, takes
yep,
longer, slower. I do think smoking it helps your mental game. I mean, if you can control that, I mean, there's the body and the mind high. And I think the way you control it is easier to control through smoking it. But, being in the industry and being on the farm and talking to people, if you can't keep up, you're gone.
yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, there's been some interesting, feedback that I get, especially when I go out and I mingle and jingle and I offer somebody to smoke, and they don't either smoke anymore, or they tell me they've developed some sort of allergy to weed. I find it very interesting, but I'm like, hey, to each their own. I just hope they have good intentions in this space. But with you, you seem like you have a gold heart out there for everybody. You were so genuine. You're exactly like you are online. So that's the one thing I appreciate about people in our spaces. You don't fake the front. As you know, I mentioned that in my content creating panel, that we got to be authentic with one another, especially in this space, because we all sniff it out. So I think that's all I got for you today as far as kind of picking your brain and digging into your story. But before I let you go, as you know, we have a rapid fire that I would like to do. And it's 7 questions. And then we'll wrap it up for what's today, Friday? Let you have a
Friday.
restful weekend since you've been traveling back and forth.
Well, let's go.
Okay. 7 grams, rapid fire. What is your favorite way to consume herb?
Pre-rolls.
Oh, wow. Okay. Have you ever grown your own weed?
Yes, not very well.
Oh, you have, but you failed. That's right.
I just
Copy. We'll try again. I have like 100 seeds. I'll send you some. Have you ever gone and you know what we need? We need some clones from your farm. Maybe we'll start there. Clones are always easier.
that I can do.
Um, okay. Have you ever gotten in trouble for smoking weed?
Yeah, by my kids, they call me.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I feel like
That's
I'm
how.
sorry, that took me off guard, because it's like I've been in trouble by my parent. Actually, it wasn't my parents, it was my boyfriend's parents, so it was even fucking worse. And you're like, "Oh, why did," definitely not the type to bring home to mom. Now I fucked that up. But now as a parent, I'm like, "Oh shit, I never even thought about it that way." Okay, tell us the juice, what happened. Was it well,
uh,
hopefully it was your youngest probably
yeah,
be
it
like,
was
"Oh,
my oldest.
yeah."
It was my oldest, and I was back in the back. It was late at night, and he was still playing like PS whatever. He comes up, and I'm on the patio, and he just looks. He stops. He's like, like gives me this big, and I'm like, what? And then, and
Yeah,
then he
is there an
runs upstairs, comes down, and he brings out like his health book and starts explaining to me the hazards of smoking, and I'm like, oh my God. All right. We better have this conversation right here. So I was
Go to
like, all right, if
bed.
we're going to get interested, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it.
Yeah. See, good thing you were high. That's what I say. We're a lot more patient parents, and we're willing to, have these very, very long conversations that half the time the kids just turn around and get up. They're like, never mind. Why did I even try talking to my dad? I have a
I was super
16-year-old
calm.
grandson, so he thinks we're the cool parents, no big deal. We're just like, don't try this without us, just so you know. Especially me. Like, I am so about be like, do not get no baggy from nobody. As much as I love weed and I'm an advocate for it in today's world, if they're not really into it and they're so young. I'm like, if somebody brings that to a party and got it from whomever, I don't know if it's laced with some other shit, not to say if it's like fentanyl to that extent, but you never know. If even it's laced with a little bit of coke, a little cocoa puff for a 16-year-old's a little much. So yeah, I'm that's very interesting. It's important we have those talks for that reason, especially like my stepson plays football and he's obviously, like you can tell, very liked or maybe popular, I should say, and going to these parties, we see it on his Instagram. So we have to creep that way. And we're like, okay, I think we need to have the talk because he's going to be around other kids and go to parties. And we went to parties, we went out, we know what the fuck it's like. So I think when you have a moment or have the chance as a parent, and obviously being the right age that you could have those conversations, that they're a little bit more just aware, not necessarily like saying, hey, this is so cool. Cause I know I am noticing that parents who have been smoking for a really long time, their children either don't smoke or tend to not like it because their parents were so into it. So I'm curious to know if my kids would become that way, but
Probably less. If my kids are like that, to be honest, they're not like that at all because they were my like
great.
original taste testers for Happie CBD because I believe in it so much. I look at it as like a vitamin or a nutrient. And I tell you what, they started sleeping. It was amazing. Like when your kids don't sleep, it drives you nuts, right? They started sleeping. They were a little bit calmer.
Boys.
I mean,
Yeah, boys. You
maybe
guys
we
are
should give them some CBD.
yeah, that's my fight with AB223 right now. I'm glad it went dead, but as a parent, and not just as a parent, a parent that has a child that has autism and is nonverbal, that's my fight right now. I'm not just an advocate now for the fact that I love this plant. It's become more than that, being that my child is nonverbal and I'm already fighting against all the bullshit that is sprayed on our food and just in general, all of that. And then to say that we can't have CBD for our kids in any sort of form is just, it's not fair. So,
Well, one more
yeah,
point
there's
on
no
that.
point.
If you look at it, like the livestock feed, way back before hemp was outlawed and everything, it was given to livestock. So people were ingesting cannabinoids. People have an endocannabinoid system. Your body's built to take these in to help you regulate your hormones. Like it's 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 a nutrient. And people used to get it through just eating normal food. They didn't have to smoke or whatever. But that's all been taken out of the feed supply.
Oh,
And
yeah. I mean, they wanna take that away from us too, as far as having, like, real organic meat. That's a whole
yeah,
different subject,
maybe
but
next
I could
time. Next time.
yeah, I could go down that route. Yeah, there's just a lot as far as like me being an advocate for my son and also having a nutrition background and a love for fitness and just wellness around and the plant. It's just full circle for me now. And so there's really no stopping. So if you guys are getting tired of my face, too bad. You can unsubscribe or subscribe, whichever way you guys want to go about it. But thank you for sharing that. I think it's important we have the conversations with our kids. I just never thought about it like, oh fuck, when my kids roll me up. But for me, my kids are only 4 and 5, and so they are very aware of what mama's doing. I know obviously they're gonna grow up with it.
Hey, you
Um,
handle it very well. That's what I was to say. You know how to do it well.
oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's in the counter where they can't touch it or anything like that. Being a responsible parent, I'm not blowing clouds in my fucking kid's face, but I don't hide it. A lot of moms still, or a lot of parents still feel they need to like either go to the bathroom to smoke. But my whole thing about that is if I walk in your house and you're one of those moms and I'm that friend and I see alcohol on your kitchen counter, I'm going to probably ask you, like, why are you going to the bathroom to smoke if you have alcohol on your counter? If we're going to be in this space, we got to be like 100 about it. So, pretty raw usually, but I think that's what it takes for people to start analyzing how they want to destigmatize the plant. Because if you can't be like half ass about it, or we're never going to be taken serious, or there can be so much division within our own community, or the actual people who have the upper hand will never take us serious either. So, I think I always preach, don't be an liability. Let's be an asset here. Okay. Anyways, moving on to my 7 grams. That is totally not rapid fire. A dispo or plug?
Dispo.
For somebody that has product, you said that very quickly. A lot of people stumble on that. And I have to remind them, don't you have a product? But good question. Or good answer. What's your I mean, I personally love it because of the test. I love my plug. Don't get me wrong. Totally mad respects to my plug when the plug was able to come through because one, I hate fucking waiting around. Two, I don't know how good the weed is anymore that's coming out of
Yeah.
those plugs. And then there's the testing part of it. Now that I know how to assess flower, you know, say somebody picks up a pound, they're cutting up in ounces, front here, here, here. How long is that person sitting on that weed? I've never really assessed my plugs weed, but if I did, would have I found mold? So I will say, you know, maturing into this space, I've learned to love the dispensaries, especially for like Catalyst. Shout out to Catalyst, weed for the people all the fucking way, because I cannot complain about the prices there, and they're fair for today's market. There's some out there that I find completely outrageous, but some of the kind of curious, I think younger generation may just be very just infatuated with the packaging and even the marketing of some brands. So I think dispos get a bad rap for the most part, but they're there for a reason, and I think it's helping the better side of things for me at least. Are you in dispensaries now out here in California? I
Yeah,
didn't ask
we're
that.
about 80 stores.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, we'll make sure we'll list some of those in the description for everybody to find you.
Perfect.
And let's go to, I don't know which number this is, but what's your favorite cannabis news or media outlet?
I like marijuanamoment.net.
Hmm.
They seem to have like the best, breakdown of legal stuff, FDA studies, other states. It's pretty comprehensive. I like it.
What is the one cannabis event that is a non-negotiable for you and why?
Holif Flowers.
Mm,
I think that is,
interesting.
yeah. It's a good way for it's been around for a while. There's good people that come in there, and it's a good way to understand what's happening in the industry the whole way through.
A lot of people love it. I mean, they seem to turn out well. I like seeing the lounges on the outside. Is that going to be the same deal for this year?
Yeah, yeah. Those still have
Okay.
lounges. They've
Some of
got
those brands do
music. They've
like,
got,
yeah, I
yeah,
saw that. I was going
entertainment.
to say they've kind of like just elevated more and added more things to it. It seems like they're just getting bigger and bigger, but seems like a good time. I'm looking forward to that one. Okay, cool. Last one. What's your favorite stoner movie?
Half baked.
Mhm. Half Baked. Shout out to Dave Chappelle. Just kidding. Yeah, that's a good one. I love Half Baked. Some people don't even know Half Baked. I was like, what the fuck? So I changed it to just asking them. It was like Cheech and Chong or Half Baked. But I forget people are from different eras. Like you said, the diversity in the community is just so big. It's crazy to understand like everybody's background, which is why I love being people on here to talk about what they love and what they do and what got them here. So we're almost at the hour. Is there any last words that you would like to end with as we wrap this up?
Uh, I guess for all your people, all your supporters, I'd love to include them in the Happy Tribe. So come find us at any flower shop up and down California, or visit us online at livehappy.com. So we're excited, to be in this industry. It's been an interesting ride for the past couple of years, but I don't think anyone can disagree. The future's bright with what's happening, with what people are understanding, and how we're finding out other ways to make us live better lives. So I think the plant is at the center of it. And for you, Casey, it was awesome for you to give us the time to come and chat with you. It was wonderful to meet with you and hang with you. So you're a force.
Thank you. It was so much fun, like I said. And we'll make sure that all of Pete's information is in our description. If you guys have any questions for him, make sure you guys reach out to him. I'll make sure that all of his personal links are in there as well. Other than that, that's a wrap for us. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe, share the show to help us grow. Peace.
Peace.